Hello guys. Welcome to Top Anime Sensei. This video is the part 2 of chapter 5 after the festival. So if you have not watched the previous parts, then please go check them. The links are in the description. And if you like the video, please subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. So without any further delay, let's start. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. They were taking the bait that we were pressuring them into submission. Don't get so worked up, Benimaru. It is understandable why the merchants were worried after hearing their explanation. As I tried to calm Benimaru down, he seemed surprised. He almost looked unpleasant as the ordeal got interrupted despite the smooth smiling before. But Rimuru-sama, I am confused. Even if we didn't have dwarven gold coins, we still have ancient gold coins. If they won't take that either, we can always just give them the equivalent value of our nation's specialties. Why won't they accept these terms? I believe that the merchants surely had their reasons as well. I observed Duke Muse's reactions while making these conversations. It seemed like he was looking for an opening to interrupt. He wanted to be the guy to convince the merchants and lend us a favor. How about we do it like that? Would you first place your trust in our nation and, as Benimaru-sama suggested, to conclude the transaction with a certificate or actual goods? To finish things once and for all, Murmiles took the first shot. If they agreed, then everything could be concluded peacefully. But if they were to decline, if they won't even step down now with my presence, we will be forced to act with resolve. How can we entrust you with that? That's right. It was precisely because this was the monster kingdom, that we wished to be paid in a safe currency such as the dwarven gold coins. It seemed not all of them were merchants who were not accustomed to such situations. There were people who knew how to deal with the nobles. Ah, what a pity, I thought. Muse believed that the time was now. He was worried that after being intimidated by the Demon Lord, these merchants would leave out of fear. But they were still listening to Muse's order. But that was natural, to be honest. Muse was the Duke of Guston. They were one of the dominating forces of the Western nations, with extraordinary statuses. Only a few had this power. Therefore, in reality, those who dared to oppose Muse's order were less than few. His nation ordered Muse to give favors to Demon Lord Rimuru and earn his trust. He also promised to promote him to one of the 5 great elders when his task was completed. The 5 great elders, the people who stood at the top of the world. Muse was overjoyed. And he swore to carry out this order with all the power he had, no matter what. Muse promised those greedy merchants that he would help them rise to affluence. He dragged the reporters of different nations down with him in order to ensure his personal safety. Muse was going to confront Demon Lord Rimuru himself. This was a job only he could accomplish. It was said that Demon Lord Rimuru, not long after his birth as Demon Lord, butchered Demon Lord Clayman, who was known for his cruelty. He then established himself as the new Demon Lord. Moreover, according to rumors, he was also acquainted with the storm dragon that massacred 20,000 soldiers in the past. He was initially afraid to be in contact with Demon Lord Rimuru directly, but when comparing his fear to the future glory that he would bear, he managed to overcome his fear easily. Muse was a man that only saw profit. And it was for this reason that he was manipulated by people, which he himself had yet to notice. All of this was exactly as predicted by Elmesia El-Orsarian. It was honestly surprising to Muse that the Demon Lord would personally come to such an occasion with his executives. He was planning to take down the man called Murmiles before requesting to meet the Demon Lord. When the merchants rejected the Demon Lord's proposal, Muse's plan would be a success. The rest would be for him to calm the merchants and take over the situation. This alone should have Demon Lord Rimuru in his good grace already. I am unsure about your view on the situation right now, Your Majesty. But if you are troubled, would you mind discussing the matter with me personally? One should treasure every encounter, and I would love to offer my aid to your grace. Should I say that I've seen this coming, or should I call his acting too horrible? This was the suggestion that Duke Muse came up with. Every executive standing behind me was giving the Duke a cold glare. Now, time to wrap things up. How kind of you to have such a thought, but there is no such need. Come in. Geld entered the room upon hearing my command. In his hands was a plate with mountains of gold coins piling on each other. No way. Are those all? The room was riled up. Duke Muse's expression changed drastically upon seeing the gold coins. It seemed that he had realized the failure of his plan. Since you've asked us to pay. Very well, here are the dwarven gold coins as requested. Rigurd announced. At that moment, the room fell silent. Please, hold on a moment, Your Majesty Rimuru. Duke Muse was panicking. But it was already too late. What is it? I asked coldly as Duke Muse asked me with a desperate expression, "Are all of these dwarven gold coins? You know it's illegal to make counterfeit coins. Hey, and you dare talk to me in that way? How very rude of you, Muse-kun. You dare say something so disrespectful towards Rimuru-sama." Diablo walked forward as he finished. Benimaru also gave a furious expression while Shion, who stood behind me, had been giving off a dangerous aura from just now. "My apologies for the intrusion, but are these really all? You may have them appraised if you have doubts." As I said so with a smile, Duke Muse shivered. "Then do indulge me and allow me to use my precious magic item to investigate." It was already rude enough for this person to interrupt my conversation between Muse. Never mind. There's no need to penalize him. Whatever the case, we should continue the conversation. Rimuru-sama, many reporters were asking if they could document the negotiation as part of a news report. "What do you think?" Shuna asked from the other side of the door through telepathy net after she had acted in accordance with my plan. The reporters had gathered outside according to the demand of Diablo. If I gave the order, they would rush in as witnesses. If that's the case, isn't it perfect timing? "We will have the reporters as witnesses to your appraisal on the authenticity of these gold coins," Benimaru announced, playing along with Shuna. And as planned, the reporters entered the conference room. "These are authentic," Muse's henchman shouted in astonishment. "There's no way these are fake. From appearance alone you can tell they pack a punch. Some even look quite dated. They must not have been flowing in the market." A reporter who looked knowledgeable commented. "Those were probably the ones exchanged from Elmesia. That gal seemed to have saved up as much as she could." Now that even the reporters were analyzing the authenticity of the gold coins, Muse's henchmen couldn't really do anything to aid his cause. The reporters were useful in that they could prevent these people from switching the gold coins to counterfeits. Now is that enough? Those merchants looked quite concerned about the payment. "Hurry up and pay them already." As I announced so arrogantly, Rigard and Muirmiles nodded and said, "Yes sir." They then began the process of verifying contracts and paying the merchants. And there wasn't much slip-up later. Under the watch of the reporters, the transactions were completed smoothly. "Looks like you were the last one." With that, all payments were delivered. This concluded all transactions during the festival. "Ha ha ha, as expected of your Majesty Rimuru. How did you manage to gather so many dwarven gold coins?" Duke Muse said with a stiff face. As we finished counting, there was a mountain of gold coins before Muse's eyes, a mountain of shining, almost uncountable amounts of gold coins. The merchants looked confused. They probably didn't know what to do either, as things had deviated so greatly from their original plan. It was then that the suspected henchman spoke again. "Well, since your nation has done according to the international charter, we have no more complaints. We will be in your care from now on as well." "Oh, that wouldn't be necessary," I answered. The merchants looked shocked as they heard my words. So were my executives. What would that mean? "Our business with you all ends here. From this instant onward, there won't be a next time." "That's what I meant," I announced casually. The executives were all filled with surprise. Except Diablo, who had been giggling at my answer. Only this guy saw through my thoughts. "There's nothing I could do with this lad. I don't quite understand what you are getting at. What are you planning? Isn't it enough that you've earned our trust by paying us? Are you looking down on us because we are just retailers? But without us wandering merchants, nations can't do much of any trade among each other." They finally seemed to come back to their senses as the merchants began to shout and complain. "You people, don't you think it was a bit too rude to speak to Rimuru-sama, the ruler of this nation, in that tone?" Shion spoke with a hidden cluster of fury. Realizing this, the merchants all shut their mouths. Since they all went quiet, it was time to finish the whole ordeal. Since it'd be too much trouble to be subtle about things, I'll just put this out there. Weren't you guys complaining about how our nation has no credibility? This so-called credibility should be established on the basis that both parties trust each other, not for one party to force the other into accepting their own terms. That is just how I see it. Didn't Muirmiles already requested many times for you guys to trust us? But, well, I can't say that we don't understand your sentiment. We are monsters after all. Even when we announced that our nation wished to communicate with the Western nations, you were still unsure as to whether we would really follow through with regulations set up by humans. That must have been how you felt. Yes, that's it. So that's why. However, we did make compromises as well. Didn't we offer you to exchange goods as well as payment in forms of ancient gold coins? But none of you even cared to consider these options once. Murmiles had already desperately tried to negotiate with these people countless times, even humbling himself to begging for a solution, yet all of his efforts were rejected by the merchants here. That I cannot forgive. Just like you all wanted to trade with trustworthy partners, we too would only want to deal with trustworthy people. That's why all of you from now on are forbidden from trading in our nation. We will not allow you to enter our kingdom, nor will you dream of getting a trade license. The merchants realized the severity of the situation upon hearing my announcement. On this land filled with potential, they were no longer welcome. Duke Muse looked pale as he seemed to have realized his plan had been foiled completely. This is outrageous. These people were merely defending their rights based on the international charter. Muse, having lost his temper, protested. It'd be the end of him if they can no longer trade with our nations. He must be thinking so. Indeed, this land was expected to develop into a town with significant economic influence. It may be as powerful as the entire Western nations combined. That must have been why he tried to befriend us in the first place. If you have already seen that far into the future, you shouldn't have played tricks like these. Because I show no mercy to my enemies. Rights, you say? You seem to have been mistaken. Allow me to clarify. Our nation has yet to join the Western State Council. We did have the intention to join, but it's really not that big a deal even if we don't. What? Well, you see, this land will no doubt grow to be an important economic hub. This is an undeniable fact at this point, or at least that's what I am driving towards. What nonsense. By what? Your own will? How dare you say something this arrogant? And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you guys have not watched the previous parts, then please watch them. The links are in the description. And don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates.